All right. Well, welcome everybody. Can't believe it, but we're already getting ready to start the admissions process for fall 2022. Can you believe it? Um, I think we can or we can't. We kind of go back and forth where it's like, wow, we're getting ready for fall 2022, but it's also exciting at the same time. But again, so welcome everybody. This is the UCLA School of Nursing. This is the MSN, MECN, which we also call MECN, Admissions Information Session. Hi, once again, my name is Mark Cohen. I am the Director for Recruitment, Outreach, and Admission. And you'll see my two A team members here, my colleagues. So right below me should be Jamie Gama, and then right below her is going to be Natalie Asensio. So we like to call ourselves the A team. We are part of the Admissions and Recruitment Office. And so we will be the ones that will be, going through the process with you guys as you guys are applying for this upcoming year. Give me a quick second. And let's see, there we go. Okay, so the purpose for today's information session is to make sure that you guys are learning and knowing exactly what the MECN program stands for and what it means and what it is. And so MECN is what we like to call it for short. It's the acronym that we use, but it does stand for Master's Entry Clinical Nurse, right? So you also want to remember that at the end of this program, you will be able to receive your MSN, which is your Master of Science in Nursing. And upon that, you will be able to take the NCLEX to receive your RN license, your California RN license. Also note that this program is CNL focused. So there is a clinical nurse leader portion that's involved in that. And you can also receive your clinical nurse leader certification. And we also offer a public health nursing certification as well. Okay, so for today's agenda, I will be going over and continue with the introduction. I'll go over the curriculum and the overview of the MECN program, and then Jamie, who will go over how to submit a successful application. And then we're going to have Leonie Thomas, who is our new Director of Financial Aid, come on by, give you the insights of how much the program is, how to apply, the different type of scholarships that we offer as well. And then we'll go ahead and finish it up with any lasting questions that you guys may have and have some closing remarks. With that, I do know some people were asking about having some hopefully having some students stop by. Unfortunately, they will not be able to stop by today. But another thing that we're planning on doing in the future is having some kind of like a panel where we're hoping to have some students come in, some current students or some graduating students come in. We're going to ask them some questions and we're going to record those and put them on our website as well. So that's going to be another reference for you guys to go and check out. So look for that in the near future as well. Okay, so really fast, we have this sim lab is what we like to call it. It's where you guys are going to be spending a lot of your time, honestly, which is the beginning part of what it's going to be like to be a nursing student. Typically, we play this video, but we've been having some issues every time we play this out loud, just in terms of volume and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use this chat, even though I told you guys not to. But what I want to do is, if I can, I'm going to put the link here. Okay. So I want you guys to check out this video, not now, but after this session, definitely check it out. We do think it's a really cool, it's like a 2-minute video, but you guys will be able to see what it's like to be a student in our SIMS lab. It's really cool. We have tons of mannequins. We have those that talk, they bleed, they give birth, they give everything. So it's a real life simulation in terms of preparing you before you actually get into your clinical rotation. So I think that is something you guys will enjoy. But let's go ahead and move forward. And so, sorry here, let me minimize that. All right, this program is designed for students that have a bachelor's degree, right? And are thinking about entering the nursing profession. And so when we say a bachelor's degree, your bachelor's degree will be in another discipline. Okay, so for instance, we have those that apply with a bachelor's degree in arts, a bachelor's degree in English, psychology, sociology, or even of another science, if it's chemistry, bio, whatever the case is. As long as your degree is not in nursing, you will be eligible to apply to this program. Remember that this is a 2-year full-time program. Okay, so you are thinking about 22 months if you want to be exact. And you will have to come the summer in between your first and second year. So it is a straight, pretty much 2-year program. When we say full-time, maybe on some of the other slides, but full-time, what we mean by that is it's a set curriculum. set days in terms of your lecture and your classes, and then also your clinical rotations could vary on different days. But you will be thinking that you'll have to spend at least 3 to 4 days per week, right? There are going to be times where students even spend pretty much their whole week here on campus. And they may even come during the weekends, right? Because there may be study groups, there may be times where the skills lab is open for free sessions. So whatever the case is, just do know that this is a full-time program and that everything else is going to have to tailor around you being a student. If you do not know, UCLA is on the quarter system, right? So we do work every 10 weeks. And with that, it's going to be about 7 total of quarters it takes in order to graduate. But I do know you guys see that last bullet, and that's probably what you guys are really focusing on there. We admit 70 students per year. Okay, so 70. If you're thinking what's the acceptance rate or how competitive the program is, this past year we received close to 600 applications. Okay, and we admit 70. We also have a wait list though. So we have a wait list of about 30 to 35 students as well that we add. And so for the initial 70 that we admit, if there's any reason or any case that they decide to decline our admissions, then we go to our wait list. Okay. All right, so what does it look like to be a typical MECN student? So again, these are just kind of some numbers that are thrown out there, but it doesn't mean these are, the type of ages or gender or again, GPA that what we're looking for. This is just what it looked like for the students that are getting ready to start this fall. So again, the age ranges, it goes all the way from 23 up to those that are applying in the 50s. Again, age does not matter, gender does not matter. But again, as you see with nursing being predominant, female-based profession, of course, there's going to be more females that apply, so we admit more females. The average GPA might be something that you guys are looking for at the most. And so we do look at a cumulative GPA, which will come from your undergraduate degree. And for those that were admitted, the average was about a 3.47. So again, in the past, we were looking at GPAs of 3.0 or greater that came from your last 2 years of your undergraduate degree. UCLA Graduate Division changed that. And so now it is now cumulative. So from when you start your undergraduate degree to when you finish is what we're going to look at. Again, there's no priority in terms of where you graduate from. So it doesn't matter if you're a UC, a CSU, another public school, or even if you're a private. So there's no priority. Even if someone did graduate from UCLA or is currently attending UCLA, unfortunately, your chances wouldn't be higher either. Okay. There are a huge, I guess you could say, variety of the different type of work experience and healthcare experience that our applicants come with. For instance, and again, we'll probably be talking about this later on during the session, but we have those that do mission trips. We have those that have CNAs or LVNs or EMTs, or we just have those that have great volunteer experience who've been, working in their underserved area or in their own communities, in hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, wherever the case is. There are going to be some questions about those who've been unable to get some type of healthcare experience because of the pandemic. We do know that, but we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the session. So we'll make sure to touch upon all those for you. Okay, so why UCLA, right? So sometimes people are like, you don't have to sell UCLA, it's UCLA. But you know what? We do. We are proud to be Bruins here, but at the same time, we're also proud of all the different things that we have to offer here at UCLA. So we always like to say it's a small community within a big city, right? So we all know, or we should all know, how big Los Angeles County is. If you don't, it's huge, right? And so if you think about it in that sense, UCLA is its own community within this big county of Los Angeles. The same thing can be said about the School of Nursing in this huge campus of UCLA, right? So you did see that we admit 70 MECN students per year, but in total, we have about 600 students in the School of Nursing. So that ranges from our undergraduates all the way up to our different graduate programs. So we're a small community within the UCLA campus, and that is something that we pride ourselves on. It is being such a small department, but as you see in that second bullet, we are one of the top nursing programs in the country, and that is something that we're really excited about and something that we really, really hold dear to us. I think because of our ranking, or not because of it, but I think because of the resources that we do have, it contributes to us having a high ranking. And so in terms of the different resources that we have many in terms of making sure that our students are successful. I think for one, we have our own financial aid office. So you guys did see in one of the beginning slides how I talked about how Leonie Thomas, our new director of financial aid, is going to be coming speaking to you guys. But that's actually one of the benefits we have in the School of Nursing, is that you are not going to be just a number, right? If you're thinking about it, if you're going to have to go to upper campus and whatnot, we have all that here for you in the School of Nursing. Along with some other resources, we have what's called a mentorship program, something that we're really happy about and excited about, is making sure that as you get ready to start your first year, what we do is we partner you up with a mentor who is someone who is getting ready to start their second year in the program. And they can give you some ins and outs of the program, you know, how to study, different study habits, maybe what books you should buy. Maybe they have the books already that you can borrow from them. You know, other different type of resources that you can lean on, and then you can befriend. We also have what's called specialty coaches. So specialty coaches are someone who actually went through the program and is graduated and is working as a nurse. So they come back as a specialty coach to help you, you know, progress and be successful while you're in the program. We have faculty mentors. We have Janet Kang, who is our student service coordinator. I can go on and on and on, but as you see, there's so many different resources that we have and that we implement to make sure, again, that you can be successful while you're in the program. Okay, so here are some things to think about. I know one of the first questions that someone put in the Q&A was, what is the application deadline? And it is November 1st. So the application will open up after Labor Day. Okay, so it's going to be opening up within the next couple of weeks. And UCLA Graduate Division always says after Labor Day, meaning there's no specific date. So it could be that Tuesday, right? Because the holiday typically runs on a Monday. So it could be that Tuesday all the way up to that Friday. If we were to guess, it might be towards the later part of the week. But again, some people always ask, is it rolling admissions? So no, it's not. So you do not have to be the first person to apply. Remember, the deadline being November 1st. So you have about a month and a half, almost 2 months to submit your application. So definitely take advantage of that. So as long as your application is submitted by our deadline, your application will be successful. Let's see, admission process. Yep, we're going to make sure that we discuss that, and we're going to go over the prerequisites because I know a lot of people have questions about that. And I think one thing that people have questions about is, like, what's the difference between, you know, undergraduate BS in nursing or a BSN program compared to an MSN? And so there is a big difference, right? And so obviously, you know, you're going to think that the degrees are what differs, but our MECN graduates do go through this program in terms of graduate level work. You know, our professors are asking and are looking for graduate quality work in terms of your theory courses, in terms of your study habits, in terms of the papers that you submit, how you write them, your critical thinking that's involved, everything in terms of what makes this an MSN program. That's what's going to be expected from you. Also, you should be here on the days that classes and clinicals are scheduled. Remember, I mentioned that a little bit before. Typically, classes are, I think, Thursdays and Fridays at some point during the program. But again, you may have clinicals on other days. And then again, you may have to come for skills lab. So we always say, leave your 5-day week schedule up to making sure that you know you're a student. Okay, so some goals of the program, right? So obviously we want to make sure that we're educating and providing a new workforce of RNs. You guys know how crazy it is right now. You guys may have family members, friends that are working as nurses during the pandemic. And so we just want to make sure that what we're doing, you know, prior to the pandemic was making sure that we are successfully training our students when they graduate, that they can work in any hospital clinical setting. Right. And so we want to make sure with that we are providing leaders. So the big thing is clinical leaders, right? We mentioned that we have a CNO focus. So that's one of the main things, is making sure that you can deal in any healthcare setting, any high-tech setting, right? Or high acuity setting as well. So here are some things, sorry, not some things, but some hospitals, I should say, that we send our students to, right? And so there are probably more that just aren't on this. So I'm looking through this. So we send our students all the way down the 405 South to Torrance Memorial, and you can go all the way up to 405 North, which is Dignity Health. Of course, we're going to send our students to UCLA Health, which is Ronald Reagan, which is on the UCLA campus, or even UCLA Santa Monica, and anywhere in between. So there's Cedars, which is beyond there. There's the VA. St. John's, CHLA, and there's even Kaiser. So I think Kaiser might not be on this list, but we also send our students to Kaiser as well. The reason for it is we want to make sure that you as a student are going to be able to gain or get experience within these different hospitals, these different floors. So by the time you do graduate, you may have an idea of where you want to go in terms of where you want to work, right? A lot of people love UCLA Health. It's the #1 hospital, on the West Coast. But in terms of fit, maybe you see yourself at the VA, right? Or you want to work in pediatrics, so you want to work and you're thinking about CHLA. And so I think that's the beauty of us having all these different partnerships of these various hospitals to make sure that you're going to get all the experience that you can get. Okay, so as mentioned before, the minimum GPA that we're looking for is a 3.0, okay, and it's cumulative, and that comes from UCLA Graduate Division. If for any reason your GPA is not a 3.0, doesn't mean that you cannot apply. You can still apply. If we still deem your application to be competitive and you are an applicant that we want to admit, we just have to write a justification to UCLA Graduate Division, stating why we still feel you are a competitive applicant and someone that can still be successful in graduate studies. All right, so when are admission decisions made? So you see that the application deadline is November 1st, and our goal is to make sure that we can send admission decisions to you by the end of February, okay? So when you apply, you will receive an email from myself, Natalie, or Jamie, and we're gonna say, thank you for applying, your application is complete, and or it's incomplete, and we're gonna need these by another specific deadline. But whatever the case is, we're gonna say, hey, our goal is to make sure that you receive your admission decision by end of February. But secretly, our goal is to make sure that we can at least try to send it to you by beginning of February. But what we like to do is give ourselves some leeway, just in case we are running a little bit behind. Is there a wait list? Yes. So as I stated before, we do have a wait list. So we have our initial 70, and then we'll also have a wait list. So we can choose students from there if our initial 70 students decline. Can you defer? Okay, so this is kind of a tricky question, a yes and no sort of a question, because if this were to be before the pandemic, the answer would be no. But for the last 2 years, UCLA Graduate Division has voted on allowing students to defer. So we had students that were admitted for fall 2020 that deferred, and they're getting ready to start for this year, fall 2021. And then UCLA Graduate Division has also offered the opportunity for those that were admitted for this fall, defer to start for fall 2022. If that is the case, if anyone does decide to defer, so for instance, if we have one student that is deferring and wants to start and enter in fall 2022, that means we can only admit 69 students, okay? So think about that for students. If they decide to defer and they have until the start of this upcoming fall, I think the fall quarter starts September 20th. So there's still a few more weeks if people decide to defer, but it does take away from the amount of students that we can admit the next year. And that's if, 6 months from now, when we reach back to the student and we ask them, hey, so we know you deferred, do you want to join us in the fall? They may say no. So again, if that's the case, then we will have our 70 again. How often do we admit for the program? Once a year. It's a great question. So we only admit for the fall academic term. Okay, so for those that are getting interested to apply, it will be for fall 2022. After that is fall 2023 and so forth. Is there graduate housing available? Yes, there is. We do offer graduate housing. They typically say it's off campus, but it's pretty much, we have one that's in Westwood. We have another one that's in the Palms and Culver City area. So they're not far. And UCLA does have transportation, which is really cool. So there is a bus line that goes all throughout kind of the West LA area and the surrounding cities. What is our retention rate? So we are in the 90 percentile. So that is something that we try to pride ourselves on, is making sure that we are not only selecting the right student, but that at the same time, we're making sure that they can progress throughout the quarters in order to graduate. And how do our students do on the NCLEX? And so we're also in the 90 percentile, right? For first time pass rate. I think this past year, we were, and not those that just graduated this past June, right? Because you have to think that some of them are still probably studying to take the NCLEX, and some may haven't taken them yet and should be taking them this month and so forth. So we're going to be thinking about those that graduated in 2020. We were at 95% first time pass rate. Okay, and so we will be getting some information back for those that just graduated in June to see how well they did on the NCLEX. But again, we have students that were taking it last month in July and students that are going to be taking it this month in August. Okay, so let's go over the curriculum really fast. And so in terms of your clinical experience, what you'll see here is during your first year, there's going to be no clinical experience starting in your first quarter, which is fall quarter. You won't start your clinical experience until winter quarter. And at that point, for winter and spring, you're going to do Med-Surg A and Med-Surg B. And then remember, you do have to come there somewhere in between your first and second year. So at that point, you will be doing mental health and geriatrics. And then as you start year 2, that's when you're going to do maternity. And then winter quarter is something where we call it immersion. So at this point, there's going to be no lecture, no classroom work, I should say, that is required of you. But at this point, you will be able to select the hospital of your liking and also the floor of your liking. And at that point, you will be with a preceptor, and it's going to be a simulation in terms of working your 12-hour shifts. But at the same time, you will have a project that's involved. And in that project is something that you want to do or implement that will be for the betterment of that floor that you're working. Okay. And then what you'll do is you'll finish off your spring quarter with public health. So public health, you may be thinking areas of like the Skid Row area or any other type of public health setting. Okay, so here's a sample course sequence. And if you guys haven't, the same way you guys were able to RSVP to this info session, there's also one of the links towards the bottom of that page where you'll be able to download the informational packet. And in the informational packet should have this sample course sequence. And in that, because what you're seeing here are just the N230, all these different acronyms, it might be on the next slides of what they mean. But in that packet, it also gives you a breakdown of what that is. So if you haven't already, definitely download that informational packet. But as you'll see, you really are starting off as a full-time student, right? And so it's not going to be until your winter quarter that you'll see here, where there's going to be an implementation of your clinical rotations, because you see it's a full course load and even summer as well. And then you'll go ahead and move on to year 2. And as you see during winter, it's 12 units, but again, that is your immersion. And then you'll go ahead and finish off your spring quarter with your public health, and then you'll graduate in June. So it does go by fast. You know, people say it all the time. You may hear it all the time, but your 2 years in the MECN program do go by really fast. Okay, so in terms of time commitment, this is something that UCLA likes to implement and something that they like to say in terms of making sure that this is what it's going to take for you to be a successful student. And so, for instance, for each unit that is taken, they say that you should dedicate at least 3 hours of studying. So for instance, if you have a 14-unit quarter, they're saying you should devote about 42 hours of studying if that's inside and outside the classroom. But again, you guys know yourselves. You may study less, I don't know, but you most likely will be putting in a lot of time studying, but it's going to be up to you. Just know that, you can study individually on your own, but this is the program where most of it is going to be a lot of group work, right? You got to be thinking you are going to be working as a team, or you can be working in a team when you are a nurse. So a lot of this information in terms of what you're going to be learning in the classroom is going to be also group-based as well. So you got to make sure you're going to know how to study with others, work with others, and all that sort of stuff. But again, to be successful, you're going to have to devote a lot of time to this program. Okay, so before we continue with the application process, because we are a little bit ahead of schedule, I do see that my team has been answering some questions, but I'm going to take a little bit of time here because I know they always do a good job of leaving the ones that we feel should be said out loud for everyone. So let me look through these. And let's see what we have here. Okay, so this is a good question. Someone's asking if they have to mix some lecture or clinical courses due to religious reasons. Will the program be okay with that? And so, yeah, of course, there are policies behind that. The university follows as well as the School of Nursing. So for any religious reasons that you have to miss class or clinicals, or especially, let's say for class, right, that we'll be able to make sure that we can make that up for you. But for clinical rotations, what we can try to do is make sure that we can work around that as well. So we do try to accommodate our students when it comes to that, or even if it comes to a disability as well. So let's see. Okay, so someone is asking, says, although not considered for admission, what other degrees are being looked at for admission? And it says, if so, will it be provided at any sort of advantage if you have one degree that is healthcare related? So it's a good question. So again, in all honesty, we do not look at what your degree is in. Okay, it holds no bearing, because if you think about it, someone who is a science major or someone who is healthcare related, right? So maybe if someone has a public health degree, they're still going to have to complete the same prerequisites as someone who is an arts major. Okay, so when it comes to admissions, the degrees doesn't matter. It's obviously making sure that it comes from an accredited institution and that you have a minimum GPA over 3.0. And then again, that you're satisfying our prerequisites. The only thing that can maybe be an advantage for someone who's healthcare related is that they may be able to get some experience while they're also within that major. But of course, you know, again, that is not something, there's no extra points that are weighted for someone who has a healthcare degree compared to someone who does not. Someone is also asking, can they apply if they have an MS already? So yes, if someone has a master's degree, as long as it's not in nursing, you can apply to this program. So we have students that apply all the time that have, I'm going to keep the same example. So if someone has a public health master's degree, we have people that do that, they can apply. So yes, you can still apply if you have a master's degree. That's okay, as long as it's not an MSN. Okay, let's see. For a cumulative GPA for undergraduates, what is undergraduate had classes that brought down the GPA because of failure, but you have now improved and retook the classes. So, okay, that's a good question. So I get where this question is leading to. So let's say, for instance, you have a GPA that is under a 3.0, right? And so let me back up. Once you graduate with your undergraduate degree, your GPA cannot be changed. So as soon as you graduate, your GPA is set in stone. Meaning, so if you, for some reason, have a GPA that's under 3.0 and you took a statistics course and you got a, let's say, a D in it, right? That obviously, that grade went into your GPA. Now, if you were to retake statistics and you get an A, we're going to take that A, of course, right? But it doesn't mean that that A is now going to be incorporated into your GPA because you've taken the course after graduating. So again, GPAs cannot be changed after graduating. And so that's why we look at your prerequisites separately from your GPA. Jamie's going to go over it, but for prerequisites, we accept C or better. So as long as your prerequisites are C or better, we will accept those. But again, your GPA cannot be changed. Let's see here. If admitted, what certifications and qualifications would we need before starting the fall quarter? Do we need a BLS, ACLS, and PALS, etc.? No, you do not. Background checks. Yes, so there are background checks. Can there be one that disqualifies you after being admitted? Yes, there can. Felonies is one of them. Depending on the misdemeanor, no. So again, that could be a personal question if you want to ask me that later. But we've had people who maybe have like a DUI, you know, and for some instances that can disqualify you. For some others, it does not. So again, that is really up to the Board of Registered Nursing more than it is to us in the School of Nursing. So the background checks do matter. Okay, someone is asking a prereq question, so we're going to wait on that because Jamie's going to go over it. Another good question. Someone says, if I'm interested in continuing my education to NP, which is a nurse practitioner, is there a way to continue that from this program? So here in the UCLA School of Nursing, we do not have a bridge program, meaning we do not have it where our MECN graduates can apply to an NP program. We actually do not offer a postmaster's NP program. Okay, so well, let me explain a little bit in terms of what a postmaster's certification or a postmaster's program is. So For instance, our MECN program is an MSN, and we also have an NP program that's an MSN. UCLA says that a student cannot receive the same degree twice. Now, the MECN program is an MSN, NP is an MSN, but they're two different concentrations. But for someone who completes our MSN Master's Entry program, they cannot apply to our MSN NP. So because of that, you would have to apply to a Postmaster's NP program. At this time, UCLA does not offer a Postmaster's NP, but there are other programs that do. I'll shout out Cal State LA because they do offer Postmaster's NP programs. There's other programs out there as well. But this MECN program can prepare you to bridge over to apply to NP programs. It's just not one that we offer here in the School of Nursing. Okay, let's see. Someone's asking a letter recommendation question, so Jamie will go over that. So I'm going to skip over you. I apologize for that. Another prereq question. Let's see. Okay, hopefully I answered that question, but I will type that in. That's another GPA question. Someone's asking if I submit my application any closer to the deadline, will it affect my acceptance? No, it does not. The A team, we do not look at applications until after the November 1st deadline. So for us, it doesn't matter if you submit it in September or November 1st. Here's a good question. For each quarter, our clinical rotations, are students randomly placed at clinical sites, or do they have a preference? So you are randomly placed. Again, your preference is where it comes to the immersion, right? So at that point, you'll have two choices, or you'll be able to select your two top choices, I should say, of the hospital or the floor that you work at. But for our clinical rotations, yes, that is placed, or that comes from our clinical placement team, I should say. Okay, someone's asking more of a personal question, so I can answer that later. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay, so I'll clarify because someone's asking what degrees are received at the end of this program. So again, the degree is an MSN, so it is the Master of Science in Nursing. So remember that. And then once you graduate through the program, you'll be eligible to sit for the NCLEX, which is the RN licensing exam. You pass that, then you will get your California RN license. Good question. I think we have maybe a few more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and continue with you, Jamie, if that's okay. All right, let's see. Let's see here. Okay, here's a good question. It says, what roles can I work with an MSN CNL degree compared to someone who has a BSN? Okay, so a BSN and our MSN Master's Entry program, both students will come out if they pass the NCLEX with their RN license, right? But something that differs between our MSN compared to other accelerated BSNs or even our own BSN is that CNL, right? So it is that clinical nurse leader that is not implemented within our BSN program. The public health certification is also not implemented as well. So for our MECN graduates, there are different opportunities that they can do within a healthcare setting, right? Because of these different certifications that are involved. So that is something that differs between someone who has a BSN and someone who does have an MSN. So there's more opportunities in terms of what you can do in expanding on the type of nurse you want to be once you are able to graduate. Okay, Jamie, I'm gonna answer one more. I see one has a resume question, so we'll wait because you're gonna answer that. Okay, someone's asking, is there an online lecture for this program? So good question. The pandemic has caused us to work remotely online, but starting this fall, we're gonna start transitioning back to in-person. So remember, or I don't even know if I stated it before, but this is a traditional in-person program. Okay, so the pandemic made us work remote. It also made students go through the program remotely. But again, starting this fall, so next month, students are going to start transitioning back to in-person. So at some point, we're going to be phasing out the online. So there's not going to be an online portion, something like there never have been before. Okay, so we're going to continue answering these questions, but for the sake of time, I want to go ahead and let Jamie on, and she's going to talk about the application process for the MECN graduate admission. Without further ado, go ahead and take it away, Jamie.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can all hear me okay. We're really happy to have you. This is the MECN group is actually something we really look forward to, this information session. So the application is not open, okay? So if any of you have started an application at the grad.ucla.edu website, you have to drop everything and not continue, okay? Because that application is old. The application is not open yet, okay? So the graduate admission office promised, and I say promise because sometimes they change the date on us, okay? So they promise that the application will be available after September 6th. So it's usually after Labor Day, okay? So after Labor Day, September 6th, you can go to this website, the https://grad.ucla.edu to access the online application, okay? So you do not need to go to NursingCast or another application. So this will be the only application you need to fill out for the MECN program. So when you're in the application, it will ask you what are your plans for graduate study. So the application type, I will think that mostly everyone in this room will be a new applicant. You will choose renewal if you filled out an application last year and you were admitted, okay, but you never, and you didn't attend. You will choose readmission if you were ever registered as a graduate student at UCLA. So for example, if you did like a master's degree at the School of Public Health, I know we refer to the School of Public Health a lot. So if you got like, for example, a master's degree, then you will be a readmission. So you will click readmission and you have to make sure you choose the correct program, okay? We have another master's program and you don't want to go to the wrong pile of applications, okay? So you must choose nursing, MSN, MECN. Okay, so in the application, everything at this point will be electronic. Okay, so in the application, you would have to enter in chronological order your higher education, and you would upload unofficial transcripts from your degree program. Okay, so you only need to list the places that you got a degree, but we also need to see your prerequisite transcripts. So you can upload those in the supporting documents section, okay? But in the transcript section, I'm sorry, you can upload your degree granting institution transcript. And I have to stress this out because sometimes we receive like degree audits instead of unofficial transcripts. So the unofficial transcripts have to say the word transcript on the paper, okay? So it has to have your name and it has to have the institution's name. So you can, for example, if you have a hard copy with you of your transcript, you can take a picture, you can upload it, or you can scan it and upload it. So that would be okay. And if you are admitted, then we will request an official transcript from you, okay? So it's up to you, but at this point, we don't really need to see your official transcripts. But if you want to send them to our office, as long as they're sealed, we can store them for you in a special place. And this is what the reviewers look for in an applicant, okay? So I wanna mention that the School of Nursing decides who gets admitted into the program. So you don't have to get into UCLA and then the School of Nursing will decide. So the reviewers, the faculty, the committee at the School of Nursing will decide, and they are also the reviewers, okay? So this is a really important question that you have to answer. Why do you want to become a nurse? Okay, so you can mention this in your statement of purpose, like why do you want to become a nurse, but they're actually looking for a really, really good story. Okay, so something you have to articulate in writing, okay, that we're a good fit, that the school is a good fit for you. Okay, but you can want to become a nurse really bad, but you must articulate it in writing, because there's no interviewing, there is no testing. So basically, your transcripts, your online application, it's all we see from you. Okay, so the statements are pretty critical. Okay, so you have to think about your self-assessment for success, your goals for a nursing career, if you have any. Maybe you want to become researcher, or if you want to go into a doctor in nursing practice program, all of that, if you have those goals, by all means, you can write about them. Okay, so they're going to look at your volunteering experience in healthcare setting. It can be paid or volunteer experience, your leadership, multicultural and diversity experiences. And then they're also going to look at if you had any challenges and any adversity, and your bilingual activities. But we're going to go into more that into the statements. So the statement of purpose, okay, so pretty critical, like I said. It should be 500 words in length, but if you go over 10 words, it's fine, as long as you keep it one page. So this is the statement of purpose, is actually something you have to type in the application. Okay, so there are some questions there, but you don't have to answer every question. Okay, you just focus the elements that you feel are most relevant to your candidacy. Okay, so I would say keep the statement of purpose nursing related. Okay, why you want to become a nurse. You understand that nursing is a science, right? So, and for example, you don't write in the statement that you want to become a doctor or something like that, right? So you have to make sure you're articulating and writing why it's important for you to become a nurse. So these are the questions. You don't have to answer all of them. They're just pretty general for everyone who applies for a graduate degree at UCLA. But you can think about, so these questions are given to you, like giving you ideas on what you're going to write. Okay, so why is the School of Nursing a good fit for you? Because we want to make sure that we're a good fit, right? So that you're going to be okay in our program, that we are going to offer what you're looking for in a nursing program. So what additional information about your past experiences may aid the selection committee in evaluating your preparation for graduate study at UCLA? Why is the UCLA program, the nursing program, is the best place for you to pursue your academic goals? So you can think about all these questions, but you do not have to answer all of them. So the personal statement, like it says, it has to be really personal, okay? So it should not be a duplicate of the statement of purpose, but this is where you get personal because they really want to get to know you. So the reviewers, different reviewers, you read your application, okay? So you must describe how your background, your accomplishment, your life experiences led you to the decision to apply to a graduate degree, okay? So you can include, this is where you have to give yourself credit for everything. So all of your educational, personal, cultural, economic, social experiences, right? So it's like a mouthful, but you somehow, you have to write a statement that makes sense, okay? So for the statement of purpose, so your personal background, if you've had any hardships, okay, so maybe if your GPA was not that great, you can talk about it here. You can tell the reviewer what was going on in your life, and then how in your prerequisites, maybe you did better and you got A's and B's. How diverse, you know, your contributions to diversity, your efforts to advance equitable access to education. So if you've ever been part of multicultural group in undergrad, you can mention that here. And it's the same, it's about 500 words. But if you were ever disadvantaged in any level, it can be educational, financial, if you're first generation college, if you're bilingual, you can describe all of that in the personal statement. And I'd have to mention that if you're Leon, he is going to talk about the Graduate Opportunity Fellowship. A few people get awarded this fellowship. It's a lot of money. Okay. So if you decide to apply for the GOP, that's what they call it, the Graduate Opportunity Fellowship, it's due at the same time of this application. They're going to look at your personal statement, okay, as supporting documents when you apply for that fellowship. For the letters of recommendations, we need a total of 3, okay? So when you go into the application next month and you see that there are 4, don't fill out the 4th one, okay? Please, 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 only fill out 3, okay? The reason is because if you fill out a 4th one and then all of the 4 fill it out and send it back to us, we're gonna delete one. But we're not gonna have time to go look at the letters and see, ooh, which one is better or which one is worse. We're just gonna delete one, okay? So you don't want us to do that. So only fill out the 3. It can be anyone, your current employer, your supervisor, but it can be an exception here, okay? So if you know for sure that your current employer is not going to support your career goals, but because maybe they're going to be mad that you're leaving, don't use them, okay? So it doesn't have to be your current supervisor. If they don't support your career goals, pick an ex-employer. You can pick a college professor or instructor if you still keep in touch with them. But if it's been a long time that you graduated and they don't remember you anymore, don't pick them, you know, because they probably are going to do more harm because they don't know you. And then if you claim in your resume or in your essays that you have health related setting exposure, that's going to trigger the reviewer to look for a letter from somebody in that setting. So be nice. And then no family or personal friends. Okay. So the letters of recommendation are actually a ranking form. It's not a freestyle written letter. How it works is that you go into the system, you enter your recommender's email address, and they get an email saying, so-and-so from UCLA, an applicant wants to use you as a recommender, and then they fill out a form. One of the questions is asking, how long have they known you? And if they say they have known you since you were in kindergarten, that's okay, okay? So that counts like as a personal friend. So be careful when you pick personal, like mentors. They can be mentors, but just be careful when you choose a mentor. They can also upload a written letter. It's fine, but it's not required. So the requirement is that they fill out our ranking form. And we actually recommend, we also have a tip sheet online. So we do recommend that maybe you let your recommenders read your statements, because then they'll really know why you want to go into this graduate program. We don't see horrible recommendation letters, I should say, but we do see some general recommendation letters where, you know, the people they're not really sure why you want to go into this program. Okay, so we recommend that you let your recommenders read your statements beforehand. For your resume, everyone has a resume, right? So everyone, you can do a professional resume. This is vital also because the reviewers are going to look to your resume for all your experiences in and out of the classroom. So you have to make sure it's complete. It reflects your leadership, your employment, your community service. Even like if you did it for one day, you should list it. All of your volunteering, all of your other creative experiences in and outside of the classroom. It can be art and even things that are not healthcare related. You should you should put them on your resume, okay? But if you have something very important on your resume that you want the reviewers to know, then you should write about it, okay? But you should highlight your education, your honors received, your work experience, your volunteer work, your professional organizations. You list them in chronological order. So any professional resume will be fine. There's really no page limit for the resume, although we prefer 2 pages. But if you go over 2 pages, that will be completely okay. Okay, so we'll go into the interesting part about the prerequisites, okay? So as you know, all of the prerequisites must be completed other than epidemiology. It's the only exception, okay? Because epidemiology is not offered at community colleges, okay? So if you're applying for fall 2022, all of your prerequisites, with the exception of epidemiology, must be completed by the end of December 2021. So that means that when you submit your application in November, yes, you can have prerequisites in progress. And then you're gonna provide us with a transcript at the end of December when you're done with your prerequisites. I hope it makes sense, okay? So when you get to the prerequisite part in the application, you are responsible for entering all this information. So you're going to enter, oh, I took chemistry, I don't know, Santa Monica College, it's chemistry 19, and I got an A, and this is the date. So that's how you're going to be entering the prerequisites. So we're only going to look at the prerequisites you enter, okay? So if you retook a prerequisite for a better grade, we're only going to look at the better grade, okay? So we do not factor in a different GPA only for the prerequisite, so you don't get a separate GPA, okay? But you do get a benefit for having A's and B's because the reviewers are going to be looking at these grades, and the prerequisites must have a C or better, but no C minuses. I can say that maybe a C, it's okay in this whole group, but if you have more than 1 C in the prerequisites, it's gonna affect your score, okay? So chemistry is a little tricky because I don't know if you have seen it, but online, we have a PDF file for each of our prerequisites. It's pretty big, but it doesn't mean that every prerequisite is there. So maybe if you went to a different school but your prerequisites are not listed there, you're welcome to email us with the course description to ask us if the prerequisites you took are okay. Like I said, chemistry is a little tricky. Sometimes one course is fine. Like for example, Santa Monica, if you took one of the courses that we have listed there, that will fulfill the prerequisite. But for other schools, it will be 2. Okay, so I invite you to go look at our prerequisite page, but chemistry has to be an intro to inorganic, organic, and biochem. Okay, we also have a communications or public speaking. And I'm sorry, a lot of people sometimes want to say that, well, I got a degree in communication, but you never took like a speech class. You took like a more advanced class. I'm sorry, we cannot waive the prerequisites. And it happens a lot with communication and psychology because sometimes they waive out of psychology and they go take all the psychology, like a million psychology classes, but unfortunately, and you even got a psychology degree, we cannot waive the prerequisites. I'm sorry. So for communication, it has to be a speech, okay, or public speaking. And then the next one is epidemiology. Like I said, it's not offered at community colleges. So it's the only one that can be outstanding when you apply. So when you fill out the page, you can say, I plan to take it. The grade, for grade, you can put IP for in progress, okay? And you can complete it at UCLA. Human anatomy and human physiology, okay? So again, look at our list, but human physiology is the only prerequisite that has a time limit. So if you're applying for fall 2022, it has to be 2017 or more recent, okay? Sometimes applicants take human anatomy 1 and human physiology 2. That's okay, but it has to fall. The human physiology part has to fall within the 5 years, okay? Microbiology has to be an intro to microbiology, I'm sorry, or general microbiology. Psychology, introduction or general psychology, no developmental and no other kinds of psychology, unfortunately. So statistics, it can be any statistics. It's preferred within 5 years, but it's not a requirement. So if you took it longer than 5 years ago, it's totally okay. And you can use any statistics. You can use psychological statistics. A lot of them fall in the statistics requirement. And same with the written English. We need 2 courses in English. So they have to be in English, okay? So we have, and it's so broad that we don't have a list. That's the only one we don't have a list for. But if you're in doubt, you can email us a course description. It will let you know if your English courses qualify. So usually students take these during their undergrad, during the first and second year. So it will be like written English. I know for UCLA, anything that has a W counts. And it has to be either written English or critical thinking. So you're welcome to send us course description. And I also want to mention that of all this group of prerequisites, you can use one AP. So you can use one AP as long as your AP score is a 4 or a 5, okay? So for example, you can only, if you took AP English literature, but you also took psychology and you have a 4 or a 5, you can only use it for one of them. So because in the written English, we need 2, you can only use it for 1, or you can use it to waive, for the psychology, you can use the AP for psychology, but you cannot use it in English. I hope it makes sense. So you can use 1 AP score, and you can also use 1 pass, no pass, okay? But only 1, okay? So for our international applicants, like I said, the School of Nursing operates under the graduate division at UCLA. So they're the people who actually make the rules, okay? And you would need to take the TOEFL exam, which is the test of English as a foreign language, and you would need a score of at least 87. You can either do the TOEFL or the IELTS, but not both, or yeah. So you can do the IELTS academic with a score of 7 or higher, okay? So anyone who has a foreign degree where the primary language was not English. And unfortunately, the Philippines and Nigeria, I know that they tell us all the time that the primary language of instruction is English, but unfortunately, the graduate division at UCLA still requires that. So that you take the TOEFL exam. So unfortunately, if you graduated from the Philippines or Nigeria, you still have to take the TOEFL or the IELTS. When you go to the TOEFL, you can choose institution code 4837, and the intended graduate major code is 0610. And the TOEFL does expire. So if you have any questions, you can email us. Okay, so last but not least, right? You have to submit your application by November 1st. And there's no advantage if you submitted before, or if you submitted in October, because we're going to wait until November 1st to review the applications. And if you by any chance wait until November 1st midnight, okay, and when you hit submit, it says that you submitted it by November 2nd, don't call us, because we know. And it's okay, because the application system, it's probably under the mountain time or central time, but it's fine. Okay, so as long as you submit it by November 1st, midnight Pacific Standard Time, you will be okay. So we will, after you hit submit, it's all done, it's all gone, we're gonna contact you a lot. One of us 3 in the office. Then we're going to start stalking you, and we're going to tell you, yes, we have your application, but we're missing this, we're missing that. And then you will have another deadline. So the recommendation letters are not due at the time of your application. They will be due by January 15th. Okay, so your recommenders have until January 15th to submit the letters. And if you're taking any prerequisites by the time you apply by November 1st, but we still need to see a transcript. So same thing, you have until January 15th to give us a transcript. So all documentation is due by January 15th of 2022. And now we'll go to
Okay.
the fun part.
Yeah, it's the fun part. But you know what? I do see some questions here that we'll get to. And I think we might be running maybe a couple minutes early, but I do see that Leonie is here. Let's see if she's ready for us. Okay, awesome. So what we'll do is we'll continue on with the financial aid section because that's just as important. And we can leave these questions to the end and we'll make sure to get to those. So don't be afraid, everyone. We'll definitely get to the rest of your questions. But I think probably one of the most important part is figuring out how do you pay for this, right? And so, sorry, we're going to skip this. We're actually, let me go back really fast just to let you guys know. So if you guys are unaware, these are our email address. So you can contact myself, Jamie, or Natalie. Either one of us will be able to answer any questions you guys do have. One thing that's on the top of my mind is we do have general application office hours. So it is on the same link for where you guys are able to RSVP. So definitely go ahead if you guys still have some lingering questions, some dying questions, and want to meet with us. We have it for about 15 minutes. So definitely go ahead and select the dates that we have available. But if not, go ahead and send us an email. And then, like Jamie was saying, you could submit the official transcript to us after finding out if you're admitted into the program. So don't worry about sending officials now, unless you want to. Like she was saying, we can store them for you. But if you want, we now accept electronic official transcripts, which can be sent to myself or even one of the other two team members, or you can send them through the snail mail, right? So if you want them to go through the mail, we could do that as well. We'll make sure that we pick those up for you. But last but not least, this is something we always have to say, is just that knowing some people were asking about how competitive the program is and what's the acceptance rate, just knowing that if we could, we would love to admit everyone, right? And we can, if we also could, we can admit more than 70, but just unfortunately we cannot. And so what we do is we just try to make sure that we can give you the best advice that we can. And just know that for those that are attending this session, or maybe we'll be listening to this at a later date, this is really the beginning. This is where it starts. And just knowing that if you are to attend this, you're going to get some good insight. And just know that this will help you. Okay, so again, we'll be here to answer any questions even after this session. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and move forward. And without further ado, I would love to introduce Leonie Thomas, who is our new Director of Financial Aid.
Hi, A-Team. Thank you, Mark, for the introduction. As mentioned, so my name is Leonie, Director of Financial Aid at the School of Nursing specifically. So for all your financial aid needs, you can contact me. There's my email right there, leoniethomas@sonnet.ucla.edu. But let's get into kind of ways to pay. So starting with just going over our fees, kind of what you can expect to pay. So currently our in-state fees for the academic year are $25,831. So this is split up per quarter because we have the 3 quarters, fall, winter, and spring. This 25,000 is divided into 3, and you pay about $8,610 per quarter. I do want to note it's not unit based, so no matter how many units you do take, it is going to be that flat fee. You'll also see another number over there, 59,375 is our total projected budget for the academic year. It's also called, we refer to it as cost of attendance. And it does include your tuition and fees for $25,831, but it also includes other expenses that you would have. Not direct costs to the university, such as your room and board. Of course, you have housing that you have to pay for, maybe books and supplies, your transportation to and from campus. So that's all accounted for in the general budget. What that budget allows, it's we can award financial aid up to that amount. We can't exceed, but we can award you up to that, basically 59,000 in financial aid. So you'd have enough financial aid to cover your tuition and fees and also your living expenses throughout the academic year. All right, we can go to the next slide. So some financial aid specifically at the School of Nursing. So there are graduate, graduate fellowships that you can apply for at with graduate division at grad.ucla.edu. Please keep in mind the deadline to apply is November 1st, 2021. And you can apply just, from within your online application for admission. But in case you didn't, then we do have a hard copy too that you can submit to us, which you can, it's the fellowship application for entering graduate students, which you can find on the grad website. You can also, fund your education with a direct unsubsidized and direct graduate plus loans if you are a FAFSA applicant, or if you apply for the California DREAM Act, you can be eligible for a DREAM loan. And then, of course, we have a lot of scholarships. So, whoops, one slide back.
My apologies.
Scholarships, no worries. Scholarships, of course, is the main attraction here. So there's lots of scholarship opportunities, and we encourage you to always check out, in your community. There's a lot of outside scholarship options, but we do have specific scholarships at the School of Nursing as well. They're usually based on need and merit, or a combination of those. And our application for scholarships would be sent out, early in the spring next year. And, we have a lot of general scholarships, and then some that have more specific requirements. For example, we have scholarships just for women, scholarships for surgical nurses or working in the field of geriatric nursing, scholarships for disadvantaged students, scholarships for single parents, and these are just to name a few. So they'll all be outlined on the scholarship application, and you'll basically get one, and you can choose to apply for multiple scholarships on the application, and you'll be considered for those. Okay, so next slide, we'll talk a bit about deadlines, because those are critical. So as mentioned previously, November 1st is the fellowship application deadline with the graduate division. So be sure if you haven't submitted it through your online application for admission, that you get that paperwork into us by November 1st. For example, one fellowship that's offered for entering students is the Graduate Opportunity Fellowship Program. So that pays basically all tuition and fees. Of course, you'll want to apply for financial aid as well through the FAFSA, or if you're ineligible for FAFSA, you can apply for the California DREAM Act. Our deadline for priority consideration is March 2nd, so do be sure to apply by March 2nd next year. At the latest, the application opens up October 1st for 22-23. And then our scholarship deadline is generally around May, June. So we'll definitely have the deadline. Right now, we're expecting it to be May 30th. We'll have the deadline on the scholarship application when that goes out. So be sure to submit that back to us by the deadline, so that we can commit scholarships, to you. And if we have some time, I can definitely take some questions.
Yeah, definitely. Because I do see some coming in. I'm going to scroll towards the bottom because I know those new ones are kind of coming in. Okay, so here's one. Did the projected tuition go up from the last year?
The projected tuition, there's just minor increases every year, but really the tuition and fees didn't actually change, I believe. So it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, and then, oh gosh, there was another good one that someone asked. Oh no, where is it? Because there's so many coming in.
Oh, I see one. Our scholarships, while you look for that, our scholarship amounts awarded on a yearly basis, or our amounts awarded for the entirety of the program length, or maybe both. So most scholarships are awarded on an annual basis. So you apply each year for your scholarships. Yeah, so we would renew those. Some are renewable. I don't know if any for MECN. I'm just thinking of Coda Robles, but I think that's just those PhD students. So most of them for MSN are applied for on an annual basis.
Okay, so I did find it. this person is asking, do we have to pay for summer quarter on top of the other 3 quarters?
Yes, so the amount that we went over for tuition and fees, that was just for the academic year. So summer is a completely separate quarter. You also apply, you have to apply for FAFSA, of course, but for summer, you also apply through UCLA for a separate summer aid application. And in summer, it is unit-based, so you are charged per unit, and you're also awarded financial aid specifically in the number of units you do enroll.
Okay. Would you know, here's a question, are students able to use CalVet fee waivers for tuition costs?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we can definitely apply that towards your tuition. I think in our veterans office, Ryan Redding would be the point of contact to kind of get your veteran benefits certified, but though he will notify us of your eligibility. You can feel free to reach out to us too if you expect to receive that, and we can guide you in the right direction.
Awesome. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, so right now I saw the question
go
about a
ahead.
deadline.
Yeah.
So the scholarship deadline, yes, it is May 30th, unless stated otherwise on our application that will be going out in the spring. But in general, in the past, it's been around May 30th. So just keep that date in mind.
And then I see another one that has to do with the GI Bill. Where is it? It says, are we still eligible for scholarships and fellowships if we are planning on utilizing the post 9/11 GI Bill?
Yeah, so I mean, that takes care of majority of your tuition and fees. So we'll have to evaluate what your need is after you use the GI Bill. It doesn't exclude you from scholarships at all, so you would probably still qualify. But again, it's just on a case-by-case basis. You'd want to do the FAFSA so that we can get an idea of what your overall need is so that we can fill in that gap.
Awesome. Let's see. Go ahead if you see any. Trying to see which ones. Oh, someone's asking, is FAFSA, so is financial aid for a bachelor's program any different for FAFSA for those that are applying to graduate programs?
Financial aid. Yeah, so there is a difference between undergraduate aid just in general and graduate aid. So undergrads, still qualify if they have the need. There's the Pell Grant, there's state grant funding such as the Cal Grant, there's university grants, and then for the master's and beyond for graduate students, it's really, federal aid is really just limited to loans. So the graduate, for example, the graduate plus loan or the unsubsidized loan. And that's where our own funding kind of comes in to supplement, that's why we offer, good scholarships.
Awesome. Okay. This is coming in fast. Okay, so someone's asking the total cost for the program. I'm going to back up because I think it's, yeah, so it's here on this page. And it must, correct me if I'm wrong, this is per year.
This is per year, yeah. So if it's a 2-year program, you basically, multiply that by 2. We don't expect it to really change a lot. If there is a change, it would just be by, a few, not more than $100 or so.
Okay. So someone is asking, so like in terms of the clinical rotations, are those paid? So no, it's not like an internship. It's a good question. It's part of your curriculum, part of the tuition that you're paying. So unfortunately not. Someone's asking, does the tuition include the cost for books and supplies, rotations, scrubs, insurance, and manuals, and so forth? Yes and no. So like books and supplies and whatnot, yes, hopefully that's part of that total projected budget. But when it comes to like your scrubs and whatnot, no, that's a separate cost. And so students receive that information during their student orientation after being admitted. And again, if you want to look for the total breakdown, it should be in our informational packet as well. So one of those pages would give you kind of an estimate in terms of how you get to that total projected budget there.
Hey, Mark, good question.
Go, Natalie.
Go ahead, Natalie.
I see a question here. Someone asked, what is the cost per year for out-of-state applicants? I am a resident of Texas.
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect.
Leonie.
You know what? That's exactly the question I was
Oh,
going
nice.
to address. I'm glad you asked it, Natalie. So yeah, it's not specified. So there is a non-resident supplemental tuition fee. It is $12,245. So you do want to, account for that on top of the $25,831. It's $12,245 for non-residents.
Okay, I see another one. Is there a discount for UCLA health employees?
Good question. Yes. So if you are a UCLA Health or otherwise just even a UC employee, you do qualify for a fee reduction of 2/3 of tuition. So you have to apply quarterly. There's kind of some unit requirements you have to meet. I think, at maximum you can enroll in 4 courses or 12 units, whichever is the greater. And then we apply that benefit towards your tuition.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so someone asking, is it a per unit cost for summer session? I know you talked about unit per costs for the academic year, but is it any different for summer?
Yes, it is. And the cost per unit I don't want to quote anything because I think it could change, but you can check on summer.ucla.edu/fees and select the total number of units. So let's see. For example, for a UCLA graduate student, I'm checking right now, 1 unit looks like it's $415. 2 units is $764. So, I mean, it really just, it's not a straightforward, easy calculation, but go ahead and use the summer fees calculator to calculate your specific fees, because it kind of changes on number of units, and then there's a separate book cost we calculate. So it's really tailored to your enrollment.
Awesome. Let's see. Is there only, okay, so is there only can you only apply one time throughout the year, or can you apply for financial aid throughout the year? If you see that, yeah. So I'm kind of meaning, is it only once a year you can apply? I guess I'm assuming maybe that's what they mean by this question.
Yeah. So financial aid for through FAFSA, you apply once a year. Similar to that, our scholarships, you apply really once a year. For example, if there's some graduate, fellowships like the Graduate Opportunity Fellowship Program that I mentioned. It is just for entering students. So that's once in your career, if you're selected for that you would, receive that fellowship. But basically, yeah, for FAFSA, you apply once each year. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Let's see. Does employee discount only apply to full-time employees?
That's a good question.
Yeah. For some reason, I'm thinking it's a certain percentage.
Yeah, I don't think MECN qualify for the fee reduction.
Oh,
because they will
that's
be in
right.
school for so many units. So they have to check with their own HR if they're a UC employee. But I think the benefit is only for the nurses.
Yeah, yes. Because of just so much that is in demand in terms of you being a student. Typically MECN students aren't working full time. There's pretty much no way you can work full time while being in this program. So yeah, Jamie, actually you're right. It usually pertains more to our advanced practice MPs or maybe even our PhD students. Unless you think you're brave enough that you can work full time while being in this program. But it's definitely not something that we recommend. Okay, I think that might be, wait, let's see. Oh, someone is saying, I noticed that the tuition here at UCLA is much lower compared to other programs. Is there a reason why?
That's nice.
Yeah, I
That's good.
know, right?
I don't know how to address that.
Yeah, I don't think we pretty much can. I think maybe it's like it's a misconception, right? That people think because UCLA, I think I'll be biased. I think it's one of the greatest programs out there. We're a prestigious university that people think that we should be taxing people, I guess you could say, or having them pay high tuition rates. But one thing people may forget is that we are a public school, and that a lot of our funding does come from the state compared to other private schools, like our rival. I won't say their name, but they will definitely charge you a lot more. But yeah, I don't know how to answer that one. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad. So hopefully that makes it more feasible for you to want to apply. Okay, so with that, let me see, because I don't want to hold you too long.
No worries. I can stick around. I think that's all the financial aid questions
Okay.
I saw, but I'll stick around while you answer, the rest of the questions. If something
Awesome.
comes up, I can jump in.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So yeah, that concludes our information session. So if there's anyone that's like, hey, I have to run, I have somewhere to go, you're not going to miss anything else. So right now we're going to spend the time answering these questions. And then again, if you guys have any other questions that are coming up, please feel free to put those in the chat. And I'm going to kind of scroll up and down to see if I can answer these for you. Let's see. Someone's asking, when can I ask more personal questions? So again, that would be the general office hours. So again, if you go to the same link to where you were able to RSVP, there should be a link to the general office hours. Go ahead and click on that. And then there's gonna be a list of dates that we have available for our 15-minute increments. We did it last month for the first time and we thought it was really cool. And so something that we want to continue. So definitely feel free to find that. If not, you can email one of us and we can send you the link. Oh, yes. So someone said they signed up for this, for the 15-minute session. You will get a confirmation. You will get that within the next week or next couple of days, I should say.
Yeah, so I'm actually putting all that together. So you will be receiving an email from me.
Yeah.
So look out for that email.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, good question. Someone's saying, with all these 200 questions, will they be saved as part of the recording? Yeah, I think there's a way. Yeah. I know when I save this recording, I think the chat is also, or the Q&A should be saved as well. So if that is the case, what we can do though is, I think at some point every year we have like a Q&A, a link that is on our website, but these are really good questions. So what we could do is we can add to our Q&A document. So we'll make sure to do that as well. And again, this recording will be in the information session web link. So the same link again, which is where you RSVP'd, sorry, it will be there as well. So just give us some time. We're going to make sure that we go through it and then we'll go ahead and post it on our website. Let's see. Okay, let's see here. Someone's saying, I'm going to finish all the prerequisites by fall, but there are 3 or 4 classes that I need to take in the spring. Okay. Oh, wait, to finish my degree, and I already submitted my graduate. Okay, so good question. You can apply to this program if your degree is in progress, right? So this person is going to be graduating in the spring. Yes, you can still apply. But as you stated, the prerequisites, or that we stated, the prerequisites do need to be completed by the end of this fall semester. Okay, so yes, as long as you are completing your prerequisites by the end of this fall semester, you can still apply. And then again, submitting your official transcripts after graduating, that will be okay as well. So basically, by the time you enter our program fall 2022, we will need your official transcript with the conferred graduation date. So that is a good question. Someone's saying, oh no, where is it? Okay, I started volunteering a little over a month ago due to the pandemic. With this short amount of time, Okay, deal to the deadline, give me a boost. I'm still planning on volunteering. Okay, so I kind of know what you're asking for, but there's something that's in my head that I want to say. So again, we do know that because of the pandemic for the past, oh my gosh, year and a half, going on feels like almost 2 years for some reason, or at least a year and a half. Hospitals, again, right, have taken away the opportunity for people to volunteer or even other clinical areas. And we're aware of that. Our faculty are aware of that. And so that is something that will not hinder your application. But what we do want to see within the two essays that Jamie was speaking about is from any type of experience that you have, and if it's healthcare related or not, what has gotten you to the point that you want to apply to our program? Okay, so with that, you're going to have to articulate that within itself. And it can be from any type of experience, from healthcare experience, it could be life experiences, right? I think Jamie had mentioned things that are social, economical type of disadvantages, experience that you've gained and garnered. What do you think that has done to prepare you to apply to our nursing program? So you want to keep that in mind. Sometimes it's not always about just getting a healthcare experience. Is research with faculty a possibility while being a student? Yes, it is. So we've had students in the past. We actually have a student that is getting ready to start our PhD program this year, who actually just graduated from the MECN program a couple months ago. So she was a student research. She was in research with Dr. Nancy Pike, I want to say, as a student while in the MECN program. And that led into her wanting to apply to a PhD program. So yes, that is a possibility.
Oh, I like to answer that about the prerequisites for physio. I
No,
saw
go
that you
ahead. I see.
joke
No, I
too.
see it. Yeah, yeah. So I started laughing. Sorry.
For the physio, I'm sorry I forgot to mention that for all prerequisites, we do not require the lab portions. So we will only take into consideration the theory grade, and we do not average the theory and the lab grade. So we actually do not look at the lab portions for any of the science prerequisites.
Thank you. And Jamie, can you speak about, if I missed it, the AP scores? Did you mention that?
Yes, so
Okay.
we will accept one AP score for the whole 9 prerequisites. So if you, unfortunately, if you waived out of, for example, psychology and English, you can only use one of them. And I know it's sometimes hard to receive a copy of your AP score, but I think what worked best is that you order the transcript, mail it to yourself so you can upload it into the application. That's what works best for us. And then if you're offered admission, unfortunately, we will ask you for another copy for the actual official transcript. So I hope it makes sense. But when you enter it in the information under the prerequisites, you can just list your AP score. You don't have to list a grade. So you can either enter a 4 or a 5.
Thank you. Okay. Oh gosh, someone is asking such a hard question to answer, and people ask this all the time. The question is, it says, what in your opinion, what can set you apart compared to the 600 plus applications or applicants? That is so hard to answer just because the MECN program is so unique in terms of the different type of students that are in the program, that it's hard to say that we're looking for one type of student, right? And so, one of the easiest things to say is the MECN program, we admit people that are, in the field of arts. We've had a past student who just graduated who was a musician, right? Who graduated from one of the top music schools as an undergraduate, and then had a life trajectory change and want to become a nurse, right? We've had an actor before, go through our program. We have had athletes. We've had, I can keep going on and on in terms of the different type of students that we've admitted. And so again, we're not looking for one type, but the reason I bring that up is because they all bring something different to the table, right? And that is also, I think, what's so appealing about the program is that there's not one thing we're looking for. People's experiences are different, right? So again, I think the biggest thing is just really being able to articulate how passionate you are in terms of nursing, what you've done to make you feel like you're ready to apply and enter such a program. What do you want to do after graduating with it? Right. So again, everyone's going to have different reasons of what type of nurse they want to be. Right. So I think that was one of the questions someone asked. You could be a travel nurse. You could be a forensic nurse. You could be a nurse at your local high school. Right. There's so many different type of things you could do within nursing. So there's not one thing that we're looking for. Right. So it's really hard to answer. There's not one thing that we're looking for. Always say, just if you are ready to apply, go ahead and do it. But just make sure that you're putting 110% into it. Right. So you're not leaving any stone unturned, and knowing that when you submit it by November 1st, you're going to feel really good about no matter what the outcome is. So I hope that answered it. It may not be the answer you're looking for, but I hope that answered it. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so Jamie had mentioned about the AP scores. So remember, you're gonna have to submit it to the College Board. So like she was saying, you can submit it to yourself and then send it to us, or you can have it sent to us strictly or specifically to the School of Nursing. And then what we'll do is we'll attach it to your application. But in the time of applying, if you have like an unofficial transcript, you can just upload that. But at some point we will need the official. If you don't have the unofficial and you obviously need to submit an official, I'd rather you just send it straight to us, because if you send it to yourself and open it, then it's still considered unofficial. And then you're gonna have to order another one. So yeah, that's the case with the AP scores. Here's a good question. Would research with faculty be considered volunteer work? Yes, it would be. Okay.
Mark, I saw a question.
Yeah.
So yes, the general application office hours are Pacific time. And I did see 2 people say that the link wasn't working. So I will double check that link, but if for any reason, feel free to email me. So I wanted to add that in there as well.
Thank you. And I think it's not working because the graduate division shut it down. Yeah,
Okay.
there's always a time leading up to the application where they shut it down, kind of like a maintenance sort of thing.
Right.
So that's probably the case. But for any reason, like you're saying, if people want to email Natalie, do that and she could double check. But I'm probably pretty sure that that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here.
Oh, I'll take the international transcript. So
Yeah.
if you have a international degree, you don't need to get your transcripts evaluated. All we need is your transcripts in the original language and a translated copy in English. And we will do the evaluation in our office. So you can submit a copy. Usually it's the Ministry of Education that can translate the transcripts, or the embassy, and we will take that translation and you can just upload it into the system and we'll do the evaluation in the office.
Thank you.